Hello, let's continue with our lesson. Okay, so let's continue. We'll be now discussing chapter 4, the accounting business cycle. Okay, accounting business cycle. In chapter 4, we're going to discuss portion of the business cycle. The accounting business cycle kasi, or accounting cycle of a business, particularly we're going to discuss service business. It is composed of 11 steps. So number 1, you have to analyze the business transactions. Number 2, after analyzing, you're going to journalize or you're going to prepare journal entries. Number 3, you're going to post these entries in the general. After posting the entries in the ledger, you're going to prepare trial balance to determine the balances of each account. Number 5, since we have now the trial balance, we can prepare a 10-column worksheet and make necessary adjusting entries. Number 6, prepare financial statements. Since after preparing the adjusting entries, we will get the adjusted balances and now we're ready to prepare the financial statements. So yun na yung final balances that will be presented in our financial statements. And then after financial statements, we will record adjusting entries and journalize them into the same record. So after we're going to prepare financial statements, then yung mga adjusting entries natin na hindi pa napopost, ilalagay natin din sila sa ledgers and sa journals. Kasi kanina, diretso lang tayo sa worksheet. From 10-column worksheet, after ng adjusting entries, diretso tayo sa paggawa ng financial statements. Hindi pa natin pinost sa ledger at saka hindi natin nilagay sa book, sa mismong book na journal entry. I mean sa journal. And then after that, we will record and close posting in. We will record and post closing entries. Pag closing entries kasi again, we're closing the nominal accounts, the income and expenses into the real accounts, the capital account. And then after that, we will rule the balances of real and nominal accounts and then prepare a post-closing trial balance and prepare reversing entries. So, isa-isayin natin. So, chapter 4, ito, number 1 to number 4. Analyze the business transaction. When we're going to analyze business transactions, as we have discussed before, the accounting starts with analysis of business transaction. We have to determine whether the transaction is financially related or not, or will it affect one of our financial accounts. So we have to analyze. And how do we analyze? We will use source documents. Diba? Kailangan, yung business transaction, hindi lang siya by word of mouth. There must be an existence of the transaction. And as an accountant, hello, nawala yata ako. Diyan pa ba kayo? Let's continue. Ulitin ko na lang. Rinig ka na po, ma'am. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So, first step is to analyze business transaction. Accountants are not really in the field, remember? I said that accountants usually are in the office. They're just waiting for the documents to be used as an evidence of the transaction and then they will record after. Kaya, ang accountant, hindi yan mag-record ng transaction hanggat wala siya nakikitang source documents because that's the only way of checking of the accountant whether the transaction which should be recorded really existed. O gaya ng pag-deliver ng goods, paano natin malalaman na may sale? Kailangan, meron talaga tayong delivery receipt and then meron ding receiving receipt. Yung kabilang party na matatanggap ng goods para makita natin na na-deliver talaga yung goods. Because remember, we only record sale or sale of goods when these are earned. And when you say sale of goods, it is earned when it is delivered. O, ano pa? Mga kagaya ng accounts payable natin or yung mga accruals natin, mga accrued expenses. How do we know that or when do we record accrued expenses? Pag ba sinabi ng empleyado, ma'am, may babayaran po tayo 20,000. I-record mo ba agad yun as an accountant? Of course not. Is that a transaction? It might be a business transaction because we have a payable. Meron daw tayong na-incur na expense. But does that transaction really exist? Now, how would you know? Then, look for the source documents. What is the source document that you're going to look kapag meron kang mga accruals or accrued expenses? Well, you have to look for billing statements. Meron ka bang billing statement na natanggap? May bill ka ba? Para masabi mo na meron ka talagang mabayaran o hanapin mo. Okay? So, ganon. Analyze business transactions through source documents. And there are many business transactions and there are also various source documents that relates to each transaction. But what is important is, in each business transaction, before you record the journal entry, first you have to analyze what's the effect. Would it affect the assets, liability, or equity? Would there be an increase or decrease of assets, liability? Action that should be recorded, we are now going to journalize. So, yung next step mo, journalize mo na. Pag nag-journalize ka, you are going to record the transactions in a journal. Kaya tinawag na journalize. Kasi yung journal, yan yung tawag sa libro. Diyan mo nilalagay yung journal entry. Ano lang tayo, overview, mamaya natin pupuntahan yung mismo journal. Journal, at saka yung pag-prepare ng journal entry. Although, alam niya naman na, kumbaga review na lang to. So, journalize, you record the debit, and you record the credit. So, debit side, to an account, first you have to identify what account is to be affected, what specific account in asset, liability, or equity, and then ano yung magiging posting niya, debit ba or credit. Ano ba yung magiging record niya, debit ba sa ganitong account or credit sa ganitong account, and the amount. After that, we have to post these entries, diba? Second step is journalize. You have to debit or credit. And then after that, you post these journal entries to the general ledger. Ano ba yung general ledger na yan? I-discuss din natin mamaya. Yung general ledger na yan, that is a summary of your account. For each account, merong summary ng transactions on the debit side and credit side. Lahat ng nangyayari concerning that account, debit man or credit, nakalista yan sa general ledger. So, ipopost mo from the journal entry, kunwari, nag-debit cash, credit capital. So, yung debit sa cash, ipopost mo yan sa general ledger, sa debit side ng account. Ang general ledger kasi, specific sa account. Sa bawat account, cash, meron siyang sariling ledger. Sa accounts receivable, may sarili din siyang ledger. Kasi pinapakita sa ledger yung mga transactions for that account. Pag sinabi mo journal, lahat ng journal entry sa bawat transaction. So yung journal, again, it is a recording of all the transactions, regardless of the accounts affected. Whereas, pag general ledger, it is a summary of postings for a specific account. So, sa journal, makikita mo lahat ng entry doon, naghalo-halo, pati yung mga accounts, nandun lahat. Pero pag general ledger, may sariling general ledger ang bawat account. May sariling ledger account. Then after na-post sa general ledger, kamukha ng general ledger yung T account. Kasi may debit side per account, may credit side per account. Makikita niyo yun mamaya. Tapos at the end, kukunin yung balance kung meron bang net debit or net credit. And then, preparing trial balance. After that, syempre, kung nakuha na natin kung meron na tayong general ledger, kung saan natin pinopost yung bawat transaction, we can be able to get the balance, the foot balances. Yung balance mo, debit ba yung ending balance ng cash, or credit ba yung ending balance ng cash. And then after that, we will prepare the trial balance. Yung trial balance kasi that is the list of all the accounts. Listahan lang siya ng account na may balance. So open account, list siya ng lahat ng accounts na may balance. So debit and credit. Makikita yung enumeration of all accounts which has balances. Then after that, we will prepare 10-column worksheet. So worksheet na yun, nag-start siya from journalizing. After that, meron tayong magkakaroon ng posting, and then unadjusted balances. After unadjusted balances, gagawa na tayo ng trial balance. So yun yung worksheet. Yung sequence from journalizing hanggang makagawa tayong trial balance. And then after natin mag-prepare ng 10-column worksheet, then we will prepare the financial statements. Yung financial statements, yan na yung statement of financial position or yung balance sheet mo, nakalagay din yung assets, liabilities, and equity. Meron ka din statement of comprehensive income, yung income statement mo, nandun yung income and expenses. Meron ka din cash flows, nandun yung cash from operation. Hello? Nawawala yung share ninyo. Oo nga, nawawala. Naku, ngayon ko lang napansin. Nandito pa lang naman tayo sa first page ng book. Ayan. Okay? Dito pa lang tayo. So, steps pa lang. Binibigyan ko lang kung kayo ng background for each step of accounting cycle. So, after, di ba, may 10-column worksheet. And then, we will prepare financial statements. Sa mga next chapters na ito ng book. Pero sa chapter 4, steps number 1 to 4 lang. Yan. Then, pag nag-prepare ka na kasi financial statements, meron kang mga adjusting entries. Pero actually, dapat mauna si adjusting entries bago ka ito kasi, recording of adjusting entries pala. To the journal and to the ledger. Kasi after natin magkaroon ng trial balance, may mga adjusting entries tayo, dire-diretso kasi yun sa worksheet eh. Gagawa ka na at the end ng financial statements. Pero hindi pa natin nalipat sa mismong books adjusting entries na nakalagay sa column, sa worksheet. Yung worksheet kasi na yun, para lang siyang trial paper. Yun yung working paper ng accountant. Ngayon, sa Excel na yun eh. Sa Excel na natin ginagawa yung mismong worksheet. Yung maraming columns. First column is the recording. Then after that, there is some adjustments if there are errors. And then journal entries. And then after that, magkakaroon ng trial balance. And then there would be adjustments for errors, and then adjusted trial balance. Tapos merong journal entries. Then after that, adjusted balance, and then adjusted account balance. Tapos gagawa na ng financial statements. Pero pag diretso lang kasi sa worksheet, hindi pa natin na-record sa journal and the ledger. Kaya meron tayong step number 7 na yung mga adjusting entries sa worksheet, ilalagay sa journal and sa ledger. Then after that, recording and posting of closing entries is what I've mentioned a while ago. Closing entries, the goal here is to close the nominal accounts, which are the income and the expenses. Where do you close it? You close it to the capital account. Gagamitin na natin dyan yung income summary na account. Yun yung temporary account na ginagamit for closing the nominal accounts into the capital account. The number 9, ruling and balancing of real and nominal accounts. So, kukunin natin mga ending balances nila. And then, preparing a post-closing trial balance. So, after mag-close ng nominal accounts, kukunin natin yung balances lang ng real accounts. Ibig sabihin dito, yung income and expenses, zero na magiging balance dito sa post-closing trial balance. Zero na yung income and expenses. Sana sila napunta na sila sa capital account. And then, number 11 naman, we will be reversing entries. Saan naman to related yung reversing entries? Next chapter, we will learn about the accruals. Remember, we have a principle, accounting principle of accrual of accounting or accrual sa accounting, wherein we record the income and expenses. For the income, we record it when it is earned, not when the payment for which is collected. And for expenses, when it is incurred, when they are incurred, not when they are paid. So pag nagkaroon tayo ng accrual at the end of the month, ang usual kasi na ginagawa ng mga accountants, we reverse that at the beginning of the month. Why do we reverse? Kasi usually, estimate lang yung mga yun. Estimate lang yung mga accruals na yun. Kaya, at the beginning of next month, tatanggalin mo yung accruals na yun para pag dumating yung actual amount on that month, yun yung i-record natin. So, reversing entries. I-discuss na lang natin yan ng mas maigi on the next chapters. So, as what we've mentioned, here in chapter 4, we will only discuss steps 1 to 4, which is analyzing business transaction, then journalizing, and then posting and preparing the trial balance. Actually, you know this already. Dati, nung nag-EBM kayo, alam ko na-discuss yun na ito. At saka yung first chapter, di ba, na-discuss natin yung mga debits and credits, increase and decrease in accounts. Mas formal lang natin siyang gagawin dito. Magkakaroon talaga tayo ng journalizing. Then, gagawa na rin tayo ng general ledger. Yung general ledger, kamukha lang ito ng T-account. Yung T-account kasi for facilitation lang ng computation ninyo. And after that, we will prepare trial balance. And next chapter, ito na, yung worksheet and financial statements. Okay, so let's go to books of accounts. I presume that you have read this already, kaya bibilisan natin. Books of accounts, what are the different books of accounts? Examples, journal, and then ledger. So journal, ano yung journal? This is the book where the transactions are initially recorded in a systematic and chronological order. Bakit chronological order? Because we prepare the journal entries based on the date. So sunod-sunod yun. Hindi pwede na yung end of the month na transaction, mauuna kaysa dun sa beginning of the month. Chronological siya. Per date siya. Per occurrence of transaction. And then systematic siya. Bakit may system? Ano yung sistema dito? Because we have the debit. For each account, for each transaction, there is a specific account which will be affected. So, hindi ka magre-record hanggat hindi mo alam kung ano yung account. And after that, even though if you know the account already, for example, ang account affected is cash, and then accounts receivable. Kailangan, hindi lang account ang alam mo din kung debit ba yan or credit. So, may system siya. Hindi siya bahala na. O, journal entry ka, bahala na. Hindi. Meron siyang system. May sinusunod tayong standards. Kaya systematic and chronological order. And then the most basic form of journal is the general journal. Ano ba ibig sabihin general journal? Lahat ng transactions, nominal balances, nominal accounts man ang affected, or yung mga real accounts man, mga assets natin and liabilities, isang journal lang. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng transactions, regardless of the accounts affected, sa isang journal lang nililista yung journal entries. Yan yung general journal. Ano naman yung special journals? Example ng special journals is yung sales journal. Sales journal. Ibig sabihin, separate yung journal for other transactions which do not affect the sale. And then, meron pang separate journal which is the sales journal. Specific lang sa mga sales transactions. Bakit nagkakaroon ng special journals? Because these transactions are usually voluminous. Kagaya ng sales, sobrang dami ng sales transactions. Kasi ang business mo ay merchandising, o di kaya ang business mo ay service entity, di araw-araw meron kang service revenue. So, ihiwalay mo na lang yan doon sa general book mo, sa general journal mo. Ihiwalay mo lang, gagawa ka na lang sarili mong sales journal para organize lahat ng transaction for sale mo, sa isang book mo lang makikita. Yun. So, yun yung purpose ng special journals. Ano po yung mga special journals? Cash disbursement journal, cash receipts journal. So pag cash receipts journal, lahat ng transaction na may kinalaman sa pagtanggap ng cash, pag-receive ng cash, doon lang siya i-record. Doon sa mismong journal lang na yun, i-record sa mismong book. Pag naman cash disbursement journal, lahat ng transactions na related sa pag-disburse ng cash or pagbayad ng cash, doon siya i-record. So may sariling book, may sariling pagre-recordan yung pagtanggap ng cash, may sariling pagre-recordan si sale ng company, merong sariling pagre-recordan yung pagbayad ng pera, cash disbursement. Meron din tayong tinatawag na purchase journal. Yung mga purchases natin, lahat ng purchase transactions, naka-record lang sa isang book, which is the purchase journal. Yun yung mga special journals natin. Pero kung yung company maliit lang, konti lang transactions niya, usually isang journal book lang yan. Isang journal lang yan. Lahat ng transaction naka-record sa isang book. Walang separate books. Now, what are your different procedures for recording journal entries? You know this already. First, analyze business transaction. You should always know what are the accounts to be affected and what is the effect on the account. Ano yung account? Cash ba yan? Accounts receivable? Accounts payable? Tapos debit ba yan or credit? And then, you have to know whether the transaction really existed. So you go to the source documents. You analyze business transaction. And after that, you're going now to record. So, ano masabi? So, kailangan may date. Importante yung date. Hindi yan formal lang. Hindi yan formal. Yan ay indispensable requirement. Why? Because you will have reporting every period. So if you don't know what is the date of the transaction, then you cannot properly report the transaction in a specific period. Kaya dapat may date lagi. Hindi yan palamuti. Yan ay importante. Kasi maa-analyze mo yung performance ng business kung alam mo kailan nangyari itong mga transaction na ito. Ganon. So, yung date, importante. And then, after that, di ba, you put the date here. And then, ito pala itsura ng journal, di ba? Date, and then the account. Dito may lalagay yung cash, debit cash, and then credit accounts receivable, ganyan. Pero i-indent mo kapag credit. So, debit cash, dito siya. Credit accounts receivable, kung makakatanggap ka ng AR from collection, hindi kaya, bibili tayo meron tayong service revenue na lang, debit cash, credit service revenue. So, debit cash dito, service revenue, credit, i-indent mo lang siya ng konti, nandito siya. Tapos, lagay mo yung debit and then credit amount. And then, ano yung PR? Yan yung reference. Lalagay mo yung reference number ng invoice o di kaya ng sales invoice, yung mga source document mo, dito mo. Reference lang yan. Okay, and then, ayun. So, after determining the date, you record the debit part of the entry, and then you record the credit part of the entry. How would you know if it's debit or credit? It depends again on the normal balance. Hindi ibig sabihin asset yan, debit mo na agad. Depende. Kung asset yan, tapos gusto mong bawasan, huwag ka mag-debit, credit ka. Diba? Kung liability naman, hindi automatic credit. Depende yan kung ano yung mangyayari sa transaction. Depende sa pagkaka-analyze mo ng transaction. Kung liability yan, ang normal balance ay credit, pero gusto mong bawasan, i-debit mo. Diba? Kung expense naman, pag expense, pagkakaroon ka expense, i-debit mo. Ganon. So, may debit, may credit. And then, every time that you have a journal entry, you must prepare a brief description. For example, debit cash, credit service revenue, tapos lagay mo sa baba, to record income earned, to record income on service rendered on this date. So, dahil description lang. Okay, journalizing illustrated. For example, the steps in journalizing transactions are demonstrated as follows. First, transaction analysis. An example sa book. On May 1, 2012, Mr. Rocky Tiger invested 500,000 in a bank account in the name of Tiger Advertising. So, nag-invest daw siya ng cash.
No, ano ngayon ang magiging source document mo dito? Paano pag sinabi lang, kunwari nag-invest lang, wala naman talaga. Eh di hanapin mo kung ano yung deposit slip o tingnan mo sa passbook kung meron ba talagang pumasok na cash sa bank account ni business, sa bank account ni Tiger Advertising. And if there is actual investment or increase in cash to the business, then you record the transaction. So, ibig sabihin pala, uy, may investment. Oh, ano affected dyan? May cash tayo. So, mag-i-increase ang cash. And then, mag-i-increase din si capital. So, now you know what is the debit. You debit cash, credit, Tiger, capital. So, ganyan siya. So, ito yung entry. If you put the date here, and then, put the debit, alam nyo na yan, then credit, ganyan. So, debit cash, credit, ganito. So, makikita nyo naka-indent. Naka-indent lagi yung credit part. Just to distinguish the debit and the credit. And of course, here sa journal, meron namang debit side talaga, may credit side din. So, ganyan magiging itsura niya. And then, this is the illustration of a completed journal entry. Debit cash, 500,000, credit Tiger Capital, 500,000, and original investment. Yun yung brief description. So what are the different things that you have to remember when recording entries? Number one, you must have the clear understanding of the transaction. You will not make the correct entry if you have not analyzed it correctly. That's why the first step of analysis or analyzing the transaction is very important. You must master the different accounts and the effect on these accounts. Kasi mali ka lang ng analysis dyan, mali na yung magiging financial statement mo. Hindi na siya fairly stated. And of course, you will not be able to properly analyze if you do not have the knowledge of the Philippine Financial Reporting Standards or the Philippine Accounting Standards. That's why, as we have discussed last time, that the accounting is not really a profession without a standards. We, as accountants, follow the standards in recording and reporting. And those are the Philippine Financial Reporting Standards, Philippine Accounting Standards, and generally accepted accounting principles. Ano pa? If there is only one account debit and one credit, the entry is simple journal entry. Simple lang. Pero kapag dalawa, it is composed of more than one account in each side. Kunwari, dalawang account na madidebit or dalawang account na makikredit, tapos pinagsama mo lang sa isang journal entry, ang tawag doon ay compound journal entry. So, pag marami accounts affected, you have two options. You can prepare multiple simple journal entry. So, for example, kagaya nung sa bumili tayo ng office supplies, partially paid on cash and partially on account. So, ilan ang affected doon na entries and na accounts, di ba? Meron tayong debit to office supplies, credit cash, and then credit accounts payable. Pwede tayong, yun ang tawag doon ay compound journal entry. But we can also prepare simple journal entries, dalawang simple journal entry. So, pwede ka mag-debit office supplies for the cash, for the portion of the office supplies which are paid in cash, and then credit cash. There's another journal entry, debit office supplies for the portion of the office supplies which are on account, and then credit accounts payable. Yan. So, dalawang simple journal entry. Pero, pag gusto natin i-simplify, gusto nating paliitin or paiksiin, we will prepare compound journal entry, wherein there is more than one account involved in a single entry. And then, the simple accounts, the symbol, the peso sign may not be included, kahit hindi na nilagay, kasi presundaman yan na Philippine peso. Tapos, meron din tayong tinatawag na memorandum entry. Yung memorandum entry na that is a narrative form of telling the management that there is a transaction but is not financially related. Ibig sabihin, wala pang effect sa financials natin. Hindi pa naapektuhan yung mga financial account natin. So, anong gagawin natin? Hindi tayo mag-journal entry. Wala pang effect sa financials eh. Ano pa lang? Wala. Narrative lang. Sabihin mo lang na may ganitong transaction. Ano ba example niyan? Negotiations. Pag nag-negotiate ka, or mga quotation, yan, in narrative, kukwento mo lang na the company has a sales quotation or sales order, yung mga sales order. Pag nag-order kasi si customer, hindi pa naman yan sale, di ba? Nag-order pa lang siya eh. Kaya naka mag-record ng sale kapag na-deliver na. So, pwede mong narrative. Customer A has ordered ganito to be delivered on ganyan. So, narrative lang. Memorandum entry. Ano pa? Sa higher accounting nyo, may mga memorandum entry. Kagaya nung pag-declare ng sa dividends. Yung mga negotiation sa dividends. Kunwari, hindi pa talaga i-distribute ng dividends or hindi pa i-declare yung dividends, nasa negotiation stage pa lang, pwede mag-record ng memorandum entry para lang i-document yung negotiation. Yan. Ano pa ba? Basta marami pa yan eh. Basta anything na hindi pa makaka-apekto sa financials natin, tapos gusto ni management i-record, magkakaroon lang ng narrative, memorandum entry na lalagay natin. Then lastly, if an error is made in writing, any part of the entry is recorded. So parang ano lang to, kumbaga nagkamali ka. Pero ngayon kasi hindi naman to masyadong applicable kasi meron na tayong mga correction tape, meron tayong correction fluid. Di kaya minsan sa Excel tayo gumagawa. So pag may error, pwede natin burahin, tapos saka palitan. Yan, ang sinasabi lang kasi dito, pag nasulat mo sa mismong libro, tapos may error ka, mag-strike through, lagay mo sa taas yung tama. Yung pero usual pag nagkakamali tayo magsulat. Yun yung gusto niyang sabihin. Okay, so let's go to the chart of accounts. Ano ba ang chart of accounts na ito? Di ba pag naggagawa tayo ng journal entry, we have debit and credit. But debit to what? Debit to a specific account such as cash, kung ano pa ba, office supplies, accounts receivable, equipment, etc. So, account ang tawag doon. Ano ba yung account na yan? Diyan mo nilalagay, yan yung pinapasukan mo ng entry. Yan yung pinapasukan mo ng amount for each transaction. And yung listahan ng lahat ng accounts ng isang company, ang tawag ng chart of accounts. It is a list of all the accounts that the business will use. So, list of all the accounts of the business and their respective account numbers. Ano ba yung tsura niyan? Ito. Ayan. So, ito. Chart of accounts of business is as follows. Ganito yung tsura niya. So, merong different accounts for each element. So, asset. Maraming account. Sa liabilities, maraming account. May accounts payable, notes payable, unearned revenues, etc. Meron pang equity. And then, capital, personal, income naman. Yun. So, ito listahan talaga. Pag sabi mo chart of accounts, a list of all the accounts that the company will use in recording its transaction. And usually, it has account numbers. So, may 101, 102 account numbers. Bakit may account numbers? Kasi ito yung nagiging reference. Para, pag nagkaroon ng inconsistency sa word or sa name ng account, then, we can properly attribute the transaction to a specific account by looking at the account number. Ito yung identity nila. Specific identification of account is with the account number. Okay, so yan yung accounts. Chart of accounts. The accounts are arranged in the following order: assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. And walang one size fits all na accounts. So in each company, there is a particular chart of accounts. It depends on the needs of the company. So si company A, pwede yung chart of accounts niya magkaiba kay company B. Kung si company A ay realty company, tapos si company B ay manufacturing company, Di magkaiba sila accounts. Si manufacturing company na account na company B, meron siyang finished goods. Si realty company wala siyang finished goods kasi hindi siya nagma-manufacture. So ibig doon, for each company, the chart of account varies because it depends on the industry, it depends on the needs of the company. Now, what is ledger? Ano naman yung ledger na to? Itong ledger is group of accounts. Group of accounts. Kasi di ba kanina sa journal? Journal is a book wherein all the transactions are listed in a manner that we record the debit and the credit side of each transaction. Pag ledger naman, this is specific to an account. Sa bawat account, nilalagay niya yung transactions doon. So, sa cash, may sariling ledger si cash. Doon mo makikita sa ledger ni cash yung effect ng bawat transaction. So, naka-rundown yung debit at saka credit per account. Naka-rundown yung debit at saka credit sa mismong account ni cash. Pero, pag journal yan, si journal direction lang. Per transaction siya. Pag per transaction may debit credit. Next transaction may debit credit. Pero pag ledger, isang ledger per account. So, kung makikita mo kunwari sa cash, ito, cash, ledger, so may debit dito, may credit dito, depende sa transaction. So, specific siya sa account. Ano pa tawag dito? It is a book of final entry. Ang journal, it is a book of original entry. Again, journal is a book of original entry. Doon kasi galing lahat. Doon kasi ang first step sa accounting, i-journalize mo, di ba? I mean, second step, after analyzing, of course, you will journalize. The third step is you will post these transactions to a specific ledger, and that is your final entry, book of final entry. Kasi pinopost mo na yung mga nangyari per account sa kanilang sari-sariling ledgers. So, a general ledger contains an entire set of accounts used by a business. The effects of business transactions are summarized in individual accounts. So, again, ledger is a summary of all the transactions pertaining to a specific account. So, what are the different procedures for posting journal entries? So, ipopost mo daw yung journal entry sa mismong ledger. Ano gagawin mo? Kunin mo yung account number. Account number ni account. So, cash. Diba? Account number niya, kunwari, account 101. Lalagay mo dyan taas. And then, the date. So, you put here the date. And then, ano ba itong reference column? Yung journal reference, ilalagay mo lang kung anong page mo nakuha yung transaction na yan. Saan? Page ni journal. Kasi, yung general ledger, naka-refer yan sa journal. Diba? Kasi pinupost mo lang lahat ng mga entries from journal entries. Kaya kailangan may journal reference para madaling makita pag babalikan or pag i-audit. And then, ganun din. Kung for transaction number 1, may debit sa cash, edi lagay mo dito. Kung transaction 2, credit naman siya, edi lagay mo dito. Ganun. So, per transaction to. Accounts, summary of account per transaction. And then, enter the account number, ganun din, reference. We will illustrate daw. Di ba kanina meron tayo debit cash and then credit capital. Diba? Kasi nag-invest si Mr. Tiger. So, ano mangyayari dito? E di ito, yung dalawang ledger ang gagamitin natin. You have ledger for cash, ledger for capital. So, you write first the date. O, dalawang ledger ha. Kanina sa journal, isang book lang. Pag ledger, depende actually, ang ledger, isang book lang din naman yun. Pero magkakahiwalay ang bawat account. Kay journal kasi, dire-diretso yun. So, ito, write the date of the journal entry and the date of the column. So, date. And then, date. So, after ng date, ilalagay mo na dito yung amount sa debit. Ilalagay mo din yung amount sa credit. So, kaya ito yung magiging itsura. O, yung reference, alam niyo na yan. Reference, di ba, kung saan mo nakuha anong page sa general journal. Punta na lang tayo dito sa mismo posting. Ayun. So, ito na yung itsura. Di ba, kanina sa sa book ng journal, ito yung itsura. Debit, cash, credit, tiger, capital. Pag ililipat mo na yan or ipopost mo yan sa journal, ganito yung magiging itsura. O, explanation, date, explanation, and the amount. So, dahil sa first transaction natin, debit yung cash, edi nasa debit side siya. And then, pag dito naman sa capital, tiger capital, date, explanation, and then credit side siya. Ayun. And then, ito, ano ba to? Ito yung account number. Ito yung sa journal. So, again, ito yung sa journal, ito yung sa ledger. Pag journal, diretso lang, debit, credit. Pero pag ledger, specific siya, magkahiwalay ang bawat account. So, may ledger for cash, may ledger din for capital. Okay, let's go to trial balance. Pag sinabi mong trial balance, yan yung ending balances per account. It's the list of all the accounts which has a balance. Trial balance is a list of all accounts and their balances. It indicates whether total debits equal to credits. So, dapat, ang expectation natin, pag sinabi mong trial balance, lahat ng debit side, mag-i-equal dapat doon sa nasa credit side. Yung total balance ng debit side should be equal to the total balance of the credit side. That is the general expectation. But, always remember that equal amounts in the debit and credit side of a trial balance is not a guarantee of the correctness of all the transactions, of all the recording of all the transactions. Hindi guarantee na balance si debit at si credit na tama yung pagkaka-record sa lahat. Why? Because there are some errors which we will discuss in a while. Pero, ang general expectation, dapat balance muna sila. So, balance. Ano ba yung mga errors? Kasi, pwede kasing error, doble yung amount. Double recording. Pag nag-double recording ka, una, nag-debit ka na, nag-record ka, debit, cash, credit, service revenue. Inulit mo ulit, nag-double ka ng record. Nag-debit ka sa cash ulit, nag-credit ka ulit sa revenue. The balances of the debit side will still equal to the balances of the credit side. But, there was a double recording. So, ibig sabihin, mag-overstate yung debit at mag-overstate din yung credit mo. It means now that it does not guarantee that when the balances of the debit side and the credit side are equal, it is not a guarantee that there was proper recording. There might be some errors. Pero expectation, dapat balance sila. Kasi sa una pa lang, kung hindi na sila balance, then there is already an error. Because, remember, double entry accounting system, the debit side must always be equal to the credit side. Now, we will prepare. So, gagawa na lang tayo ng activities. So, gagawin natin dito ay mag-prepare tayo ng journal entries and then ipopost din natin siya sa general ledger. But before that, we will discuss first ito, yung mga pahuling discussion sa book bago tayo mag-activity at bago natin sagutan yung examples at saka yung problems sa book para dire-diretso. Okay. Ito. Puntahan natin yung footing. Pag sinabi kong footing, ibig sabihin ng footing, you only add or you only get the balances at the end. Pag foot mo, either, basta pa, diretso siya. Pag sabi mong foot, kunin mo yung balances sa pababa. Balances pababa. you get the sum from all the transactions from the beginning until the end. Footing yun tawag doon. Pag cross-footing naman, pag ganito naman, horizontal. Pero pag footing, diretso lang. So you get all the balances. 1,000, 1 million plus 132 plus 200 plus 130, 1462. Ganun din dito, footing. You get the balance. So add mo 553, 20, 28, 90, ganun. Pero pag cross-footing naman, sinasabi, you get the sum horizontally. Ano mangyayari dito? Ayan, can cross-foot natin. 1462, sum or the difference. Then minus 826,300, you will get 635,700. So pag footing, diretso. Pag cross-foot, horizontal. Ano masabi dito? Notice that the general ledger account for cash includes an indication of its ending balance. After all the entries are posted from journal, the ledger, the next step is footing, which means adding all the debit. So add mo lang all the debit. Diretso. Add mo din yung credit. Diretso. Ayan. And then, total debits from the column yan, 1,462. Total credit from the credit column is 26,800. And then, ilalagay mo yan, balance. And then, the debit total, and the credit total are compared and the difference is obtained. And that would be the balance. So, yung balance na sinasabi is the net of the debit and the credit or the net of the credit and the debit. Depende sa kung anong normal balance nila. Pero dahil cash dito, syempre, expectation natin, dapat mas malaki si debit kaysa sa credit. Dahil kung mas malaki si credit kaysa sa debit, meron tayong abnormal balance. Because again, the normal balance is debit. And when there is an abnormal balance, that is an indication, clear indication that there is either an error or fraud. Because if the balances if the balance of an account, which has a normal balance of debit, has an ending balance at the credit, then there might have been an error in the recording or there was a fraud that happened. There was fraud that happened. So, ayun, yun yung footing. And then, next, punta tayo sa preparing of the trial balance. For example, nakapag-record na tayo journal entries. After natin mag-record ng journal entries, i-summarize natin siya sa ledger. After natin mag-prepare ng ledger or mag-post sa ledger, gawa na tayo ng trial balance. Again, what is trial balance? Is the summary of accounts with opening balances. Pag sinabi mong open balance, ibig sabihin yung may laman. May balance, may amount. Pag closed na yung account, ibig sabihin, zero na yung balance. If the debits equal the credits. Closed account yun. Ibig sabihin, zero yung magiging ending balance niya. Pero pag ang ending balance niya ay may debit or credit side, depending on the normal balance, then that is what you call open account. So again, ano lang ba sinasama sa trial balance? Those which has balances or those which are open accounts. Kailan ba piniprepare ang trial balance? Usually, month-end, quarterly, or annually. Pero dapat monthly. Ano ba yung mga procedures in preparing trial balance? On a separate sheet of paper, indicate the heading. Sa itsura. Ayan yung heading. So, ano ba yung heading? Name lang ng company, Dr. Season Medical Services. And then after that, lagay mo kung anong klaseng report ito, trial balance. Lagay mo trial balance. And then period. Kailan mo ba ito prepare? At the end of December 2012. So, ito yung date. Okay? So, now again, when you say trial balance, it is a list of all accounts with open balances. Kaya dito, makikita mo, nandito lahat ng accounts. Ito mga accounts na to, may mga balance yan. So, listahan lang, dire-diretso lang. Trial balance. And then, ano yung PR? Ito yung account numbers nila. And, you provide in the trial balance the ending balance, whether they are debit or they are in the credit side. So, ayan. And then, kailangan equal si debit side tsaka si credit side. Ayan. So, review the journal ledger and note all outcomes. Lahat ng may ending balance, ilagay sa trial balance. And so, sabi dito, transfer the account numbers, account titles, account balances, and open balances. List down the accounts in the following order. So, ano pa yung order dito? Una muna si assets o cash, accounts receivable, land, building, medical equipment. Then next, liabilities, accounts payable, notes payable. Then after liabilities, equity, capital, and then drawings. And after that, income and expenses. So professional income, other income, and then expenses, salaries, insurance, and that. So para din siyang accounting equation, yung pagkakasunod-sunod. So debit, assets, and then liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. Okay, so ito yung first na trial balance natin. Pre-closing trial balance. May balances kasi nominal accounts, si income and expenses. Si income may credit side, di ba? Si expenses may debit side. Pero meron tayong tinatawag na post-closing trial balance. Diba naalala nyo kanina, pag post-closing trial balance, this is the trial balance that is prepared after closing the nominal accounts to the capital accounts. So, ang expectation natin, pag post-closing trial balance ito, zero na yung, wala nang balance yung income dito. Zero na yan. Wala na ding balance yung expenses. Saan mapupunta? Yung net income or net loss, mapupunta sa capital dito. Kung net income, mag-i-increase si capital. Kung net loss, mag-decrease si capital. Pero dahil ito yung initial trial balance natin, may balances pa si income and expenses. Okay, so ito number 4, sabi diba, determine the total levies and credits. Both totals should be equal. Should be equal. Eh, paano naman kung equal, pero yun pala, may error. Di, kailangan i-adjust. So, ito. Let's go here. This will be our last topic for the chapter 4 bago tayo mag-activity. When the balance is not balanced, paano ba yun? May mga pagkakataon kasi hindi balanced. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Ano indication nun? There is an error. There was an error committed along the process. So yun, sinasabi natin. Ang general kasi expectation mo, general expectation is that the debit balances should be equal to the credit balances. If the balances are not equal, then that is an indication that there is an error that happened. And what are the different kinds of error? Maybe there is an error in footing, the debit and the credit column. Baka mali yung pagkaka-add mo. May mga hindi ka nasama. So, once na nagkaroon ng error, you repeat the computation. You add again. Baka naman namilit mata ka lang. Or, kung inulit mo, hindi pa rin sila balance, there might be an error in transferring from the ledger to the trial balance. Baka naman, meron kang hindi nasama from the ledger to the trial balance. So, check pa din. O ngayon, na-check mo naman, hindi pa rin balance. O, baka, upon posting, the entry to the debit side might have been transferred to the credit side. So, meron kang error in posting. Error in transferring from general ledger to the trial balance. Or, pwede din, may error talaga ng journalizing. O, error in posting pala, mali ka from journal entries to the general ledger. Baka akala natin, debit cash, yun pala, credit cash. Pero nakalagay na sa ledger mo, debit cash. So, may error. Or, may error din talaga sa pinakaunang entry mo pa lang upon journalizing. Or, merong omission. When you say omission, there were entries which are not posted. Or, there were entries or there were transactions for which the journal entry was not recorded. So, ano ba yung effective way on how to detect errors? We have working back method. When you say work back method, it proves effective. The working back method is effective in locating error. This means that you start rechecking the correctness of the accounting procedures you performed in reverse chronological order. So work back. Diba naalala niyo? Pag work back, mag-start ka sa huli. Start ka sa huli hanggang mapunta ka sa una. So, start mo sa huli, check mo lang i-check hanggang bumalik ka sa dati. Yun. So start with trial balance and then work backwards towards the entries in the general journal. So working back. The work back method. First, recheck the footing of the debit columns and the credit columns on the trial balance. Check mo yung footing. Check mo yung ending balance. Meron dito na sabi, possible reason for the difference would be erroneous listing of a debit balance account as part of the credit column or vice versa. Paano mo nalaman na ito yung error? Ano ba yung error muna ulit? Baka kasi daw, yung nasa debit side sana, nalista mo sa credit side. Or yung mga nasa credit side sana, nalista mo sa debit side. Kaya, hindi pantay si debit at si credit. Paano mo nalalaman na ito yung error na nakomit mo? Ano yung indication dyan? This error would cause a difference between debits and credits, which is twice the amount of the account involved. So, an example. Suppose that in preparing the trial balance for Dr. Season, the amount of the income trading is 200,000. The amount of other income in 200,000 is erroneously listed as part of the debit column figures. O, di ba anong normal balance sa income? Credit, di ba? Pero saan na nalagay? Sa debit side. So, ibig sabihin, mas malaki si debit side kaysa sa credit side. Oh, example, 5356 million ang debit. Ang credit ay 4956 million. There's a difference of 400,000. Nakita nyo, dumoble. Pag doble yung amount, kesa doon sa original na dapat na-record, ibig sabihin, may erroneous posting. Na-post mo sa debit side, yung dapat sa credit, or yung credit sa debit sana. Kaya nito, sabi, divide 400,000 by 200, you'll get 200,000. The amount of the account which has been erroneously listed. Yan. Ano pa? Kung hindi na-lista sa kabila or na-lista doon sa kabila, meron tayong natawag na transplacement error or transposition error. Anong transplacement error? The decimal place was erroneously identified. There is a transplacement of the decimal place from one side to the other. An example dito. Suppose that in our trial balance for Dr. Season Medical Services, the balance of land was erroneously listed as 100,000 pesos. The correct amount is 1 million in the balance. So, yung decimal place sana dito, sa dulo, nalipat dito sa another zero. So, dalawang zero pala ang nilipatan niya. So, instead na 1 million, 100,000 pesos, there was a transplacement of the decimal place in two figures of from, ano ba yung, tens, sa tens side, ba? Kasi, di ba, yung dulo, ones yun, tapos tens. So, napunta doon, yung decimal. So, instead of 1 million, 100,000. O, paano mo daw malalaman kung may transplacement error? There, the amount, or the amount of the difference is divisible by 9. So, pag yung amount is divisible by 9, for sure there is a transplacement error. Example. Diba? Ito, 1 million sana, 100,000 ang nalista. Kaya, nung tinotal yung debit at credit, debit is 4,256 million, and then the credit is 5,156 million. And the difference is 900,000. And this is divisible by 9. So it means, or it presupposes that there is a transplacement error. Okay, kasi di ba 900,000 yung kulang doon sa recording. 100,000 lang ang nirecord natin instead of 1 million. So may kulang na 900,000. And since this is divisible by 9, it means that there is a transplacement error. How about transposition error? Pag sabi mo transposition error, the figures or the numbers were interchanged. Example, Here, cash was erroneously transferred to the trial balance as 653,700 instead of 635,700. So, nagkaroon sila ng interchange. 635, 653. As a result, the trial balance totals would not be equal. So, pag yung difference daw between debits and credits ay divisible din by 9, then there might also be transposition error. Ayan. Basta magkatabi sila. Yung, kung malayo na yun, kunwari, 657, 6537, naging 6357. Baka hindi na divisible by ng yung difference. So, ayan. Para mas shortcut lang naman ito. Pero hindi dapat ito yung maging basis nyo pagka i-determine nyo kung may error. Baga ito ay, it will only facilitate your audit or your examination. Pag divisible by 9, baka transplacement error or transposition error. Again, pag transplacement error, magkaiba, nagkaroon lang ng displacement ng decimal place. Pag transposition error, there's interchange of number or the digit. Nagkabaliktad. Pag hindi mo pa rin malocate yung error, then compare the amounts and accounts in the trial balance with those in the ledger and correct any discrepancies or omissions. And then recheck the footing of the accounts in the general ledger. Then trace the postings from general journal to the ledger. And so basically, you have to recheck. You have to go back from the very beginning. I mean, you have to go back until you reach the very beginning. Kasi work back method, mas madali work back. Kasi yung simula ka doon sa una, pabalik ka, ay papunta ka sa dulo ng transaction. Usually kasi nagkakamali ka sa padulo na. Kaya maganda yung work back method. Magsimula ka sa dulo. Kasi baka doon nag-start yung pagkakamali mo. Okay. So we're done discussing chapter 4. Now we're going to test whether we know how to journalize or not. Pero, di ba yung previous natin na example, ang ginagawa na natin, di ba sinasabi natin kung ano yung debit at saka credit. So I know that you are already knowledgeable of journalizing. But, let us fortify your knowledge. So, mag-journal entry tayo ngayon. And then, magpo-post tayo sa general ledger. And gagawa din tayo ng T accounts. And then, we'll prepare trial balance. And after this, we will end our session and answer everything in chapter 4 and submit that on Tuesday morning. Okay, so before we answer the example in the book, let's have a 15-minute break. So balik tayo ng 2:30. Then after 2:30, answer lang natin yung book. Then 3:30, we'll end our session. Okay ba yun? Para lang may break muna kayo. Saglit lang. Tsaka ako din. Andyan pa ba kayo? Yes po. Sige, mag-break muna tayo. Pwede siguro mga 3 o'clock. Gawin lang natin itong example sa book. And then we can end our discussion. Let's have a break first.
Hello, so we will continue with our discussion so that we could have an end to our session. Let's go to the comprehensive example on accounting cycle, part 1. Okay, wait. So we have here Dr. Season Medical Services. On December 2012, Mr. Arturo Season started his own medical practice in Lingayen, Pangasinan. Presented below are the transactions for the first month of operations. And we are also given the chart of accounts of his business. So here, our goal or objective is that we have to prepare journal entries for each transaction using the chart of accounts given in the book. After that, we will post these transactions or journal entries in the general ledger, and after that, we will prepare trial balance. Okay, so let's do the journalizing. First, December 1, Dr. Season invested 1 million in the business. So what would be our entry? So kailan yun? December. So let's provide the date. And then, what is... So we have the date. December 1, anong sabi? Dr. Season invested 1 million pesos in the business. So what is our entry? Debit, cash, because we have cash in the amount of 1 million, and credit, Dr. Season capital. So tignan natin ano ba yung dito nakalagay. Kulang pala yung ating entry. Meron tayo dito, insert, reference, PO. Dito natin lalagay yung account number. Again, let's go back. Debit cash, kasi nag-increase yung cash natin, may nag-invest sa company. And credit, Dr. Season capital. So cash, we have 101, and then Dr. Season capital, 301. Bakit ulit cash? Because the business has an increase of cash, an increase of asset in the form of cash. And increase in capital because that is the investment of Mr. Season. Kaya credit capital. Kasi again, ang normal balance ng capital is credit. So if you want to increase the capital, we have to credit. So entry, got the entry, debit, cash, credit, Dr. Season, capital. So lagi naka-indent dapat na, naka-indent siya. And then 101, 30. And debit, the amount of 1 million. The same here, 1 million. Let's provide a brief description to record original investment. Okay? Pag may question kayo per transaction, just raise your hand, ha? So that you will be able to clarify any question. Okay, dire-diretso tayo para mabilis nating magagawa. And please space. Next, purchased land and building amounting to 1 million pesos and 2,500,000 respectively. From the BCD Bank as follows. Payment of 500,000 in issuance of 4-year, 18% notes amounting to 300,000 pesos. So, bumili daw tayo ng land na 1 million pesos. Building, 2,500,000. And, anong pinambayad natin? Nagbayad tayo ng cash, 500,000 pesos. Magkano lahat yun? 3.5, di ba? 1 million plus 2.5, we have 3.5. So, yung 500, cash pinabayad natin. And the remaining 3
million pesos. What do you call this? This is a notes payable. Again, pag ang payable or liability mo ay evidenced by a note na may nakalagay dito interest, yan, may explain ko, no? Ang tawag doon ay notes payable. Kaya ito, makikita nyo, notes payable. Number 202. Ano yung 18% yan? Yan yung interest. Yan yung annual interest for the note. The year, ano ba yung 4 year na nakalagay na yan? Yan yung term ng note. Ibig sabihin, 4 years niya bago mabayaran yung 3 million pesos. Yung note na yun, that is a promise to pay or that is an evidence that the company will pay the 3 million debt within 4 years with an interest rate of 18% for 1 year or annual 18% interest. So, let us now proceed. Ano bang mga natanggap natin? Pag maraming masyadong sinasabi ang isang entry, isipin mo muna, ano yung pumasok sa company? Ano yung natanggap? O, ano ba yung natanggap? Meron daw tayong land and building. Ano ba yung land natin? 106. Then we have 107 building. So, debit. Ano yung natanggap? Kailan ito? December 1 din. Debit land and debit building. Land is 106. This is 107. How much is the land? 1 million. Bakit mas mahal ang land, ang building kaysa sa land? Baka mas malaki yung building. 2.5. And then credit. Paano daw tayo nagbayad? Paano natin siya babayaran? Cash 500,000 pesos. So, meron kang credit cash. 101. Magkano? 500,000 pesos. And then, another one is, we have notes payable. Ano ba notes payable? 200. 202. Magkano? 3 million pesos. Yun. So, tapos lalagyan mo ulit ng description dito. To record purchase of land and building. Ayan lang. Okay, so ayan, debit, land and building kasi nag-increase ang assets natin. But, nag-decrease ang cash kasi nagbayad tayo. So, credit cash, 500,000. And we have an increase in liability. Normal balance is credit. So, we credit notes payable, 3 million pesos. Question? The question? May tingin kayo mali. Sabihan niyo ako, ha? Next, bought medical equipment, 3 million pesos on account from XYZ Corporation by issuing a 20% note payable due in 12 months. Ano naman? Bumili na naman tayo ng medical equipment. Pero nagbayad ba tayo? Hindi. Nagbayad ba tayo? Hindi. Sabi niya, we issued what? Notes payable. On the same date, Dr. Season bought medical supplies amounting to 50,000 pesos. So, dalawang transaction to, no? First, we bought medical equipment on account. So, hindi tayo nagbayad. 300,000 yung medical equipment, hindi tayo nagbayad. Ang binayad natin ay notes payable. And then another one, bumili na tayo ng medical supplies, 50,000 pesos. So, dahil na siyang sinabi na on account, binili natin siya on cash. Okay? So, what is our entry? December 1. First entry is debit medical equipment. Bakit debit? Because this is an asset. Now, what is a medical equipment? 108. 108. Magkano? 300,000. Ano yung credit natin? Nagbayad ba tayo? Hindi. Hindi tayo magka-credit ng cash. Anong credit natin dito? Nagbigay na naman daw tayo ng notes payable. So, notes payable. 202 and in the amount of 300,000 pesos. Natanong ako, ano pala itong tawag mo dito sa entry na to? Itong kanina. This is what we call compound entry. Because there is more than one account affected. Okay, compound entry. Okay, next. Di ba medical equipment? Ilagyan natin ng brief description. Record. Purchase of medical equipment. On account. Okay. Medical equipment account. Lagyan natin kanina partially paid in cash and remaining on account. Okay, next. Bumili din daw tayo ng medical supplies. Ano ba yung medical supplies dito? Meron ba tayo? Medical supplies. Ayun. 103. Diyan pa ba kayo? Okay pa ba kayo dyan? Sabihin nyo pagka hindi nyo ako naiintindihan. Okay. Medical supplies, 103. Magkano? 50,000 pesos. Pero wala siyang sinabing on account. So, ano presumption natin? On cash. Ready? Cash. Ano ulit ang 50,000 pesos. Okay. To record purchase of medical supplies on cash. Lagyan natin lagyan ng cash. Yeah. Next. Additional medical equipment was purchased. Hi, George, Daryl. Question?
Ma'am, yung sa notes payable po, di ba dalawa na po yung notes payable natin, tapos magkaiba po ata sila ng interest. Paano po pag sa adjusting na, paano po di ba isa-summarize, yung pag-adjust na po yung notes, paano po malalaman kung naka-summarize na yung pareho? Pareho po ba yung 18% at 20%, mapagsasama po ba sila sa notes payable kapag ito total?
Parang account lang siya. Magkakaano lang dyan sa interest expense. Pero sa ibang company, pwede namang ibang account. Depende kasi sa company eh. Dito kasi sa atin, magka-isang account lang sila. Pero ang ideal para sa akin team account lang. Kasi
Okay.
same lang naman yung nature ng payable na notes payable. Magkakatalo na lang yan sa interest expense.
Okay, meron po kasi ako nakita. Pwede po ba yung parang sinusulat din yung percent nung notes payable? Kunyari po 18% notes payable or notes payable na 18%. Ganun po. Tapos magkaiba po siya dun sa 20%. Para po pag-adjusting, mas madali
Oo,
naman
mas
po ma-compute yung interest expense.
Sige. Sige, gawin natin yan para mas madali yung remember mamaya. Lagyan na lang natin dito. 18% notes payable. And then here, 20% notes payable. Okay, yan.
Okay. Thank you
Yan,
po.
mas maganda.
Okay. Thank you po.
Sige. Sige kasi dito, sa problem kasi na to, mamaya, hindi pa tayo, kasi sa lesson natin sa chapter 4, wala pa dito yung adjusting entries. So, kaya simple lang din yung pag-journalize ng entry. Sa chapter 5, doon tayo mag-a-adjusting entries. Kaya doon, pero okay lang, sabagay kasi alam nyo na din to eh, kasi nag-accounting na kayo before. Sige, lagyan na lang natin yan. 18% notes payable, 20% notes payable. Pwede naman kahit sa dulo nyo ilagay. Depende na yan sa inyo. So, kung ano yung gusto nyo format, pwede notes payable, tapos lagay nyo sa dulo, 18%. Dito naman, gusto nyo notes payable, 20% sa dulo. So, depende na yan sa inyo. Okay, thank you, George. Next, let's go to here. Additional medical equipment was purchased worth 52,000 pesos on account. So, meron ulit tayo additional medical equipment. 12 So, debit ulit, medical equipment kasi meron tayong increase in asset. And then, magkano daw? 52,000 pesos. On account, not secured by a promissory note. O, ano ibig sabihin nun? Utang pa rin daw, pero walang promissory note. Wala tayong note. Walang written evidence of liability. So, pag ganon, anong gagamitin natin na liability account? Hindi na notes payable. Ano pa bang meron tayo dito? Accounts payable. So, debit, credit, accounts payable. Bakit credit? Kasi ang normal balance ng liability ay credit. Then, this is 201. To record purchase of medical equipment on account. Next. December 2, purchased office supplies for 3,000 pesos. Pesos on cash. December 2, medical supplies. Debit ulit medical supplies because this is an asset. 103. And then credit. Cash kasi nagalit tayo. Mababawasan si cash natin. Magkano daw? 3,000 pesos. Office supplies. Office supplies, 104. 3,000 pesos. Credit, cash, 3,000 pesos. And then, 3,000 pesos. Okay, the record purchase of office supplies. Next. Payment of 1-year insurance premium for the building. Anong sabi? Nagbayad na tayo ng insurance para sa building. Ano to? Ano ba insurance na yan? Expense ba yan? As asset ba yan? Liability, equity, or expense? Hanap tayo. Insurance. Uy, may clue. Nasa expense siya. Expenses siya. So, record tayo ng expenses. Pero, next chapter, marirealize nyo na kapag nagbayad tayo in advance for 1 year, hindi lahat yun expense. A portion only is the expense for 1 month, but the remaining 11 months payment for the insurance would be considered as prepaid insurance. So, ano kaya ang pwedeng gawin natin dito? Payment of 1-year insurance premium for the building. Sige. Dahil, kailan tayo nagbayad? Beginning of the month. Nagbayad tayo beginning of the month for 1 year. So, sa tingin nyo ba, yung insurance ba na yun na binayad natin ay nagamit na natin for 1 year? Hindi pa, di ba? This is an advance payment because this is for 1 year. Kaya, anong mas appropriate na gamitin? Insurance expense? Expense na ba natin lahat yun? Or prepaid insurance because we paid in advance? What do you think? It should be prepaid insurance. Okay? So, dapat mag-debit tayong debit, prepaid insurance, credit, payment. Pero anong nakalagay sa book? Nakalagay sa book, insurance expense daw. Pero para sa akin, huwag natin gayahin yung book. Okay? Ay, bakit tayo yan? Wala. Okay. Ang gagawin natin is, i-record natin ito lahat as prepaid insurance. Kasi payment of 1-year insurance premium for the building, 28,000 pesos. Huwag natin gamitin yung insurance expense. Prepaid insurance gawin natin. Number 3. The debit, asset ito kasi nagbayad ka in advance, prepaid insurance. How much? This is 28,000 pesos. And then what did we do? What did you use to pay the prepaid insurance? We paid in cash. Prepaid insurance building. Lagyan na natin ng cash. Credit, cash. Yan. And then, 28,000 pesos. To record, 1-year insurance for the building. Okay, next. So, again nakalagay sa book kasi, insurance expense. Pwede naman yun. Kung sana, ay hindi siya for 1 year. Kunwari for 1 month, for the month of December. Pero kasi for 1 year yun, ibig sabihin, binayad mo na 28,000 for month of December, then January, February, March, April, hanggang umabot ka ng November. So, kung 1 year pala yun, hindi mo pa lahat expense yung 28,000. Nagbayad ka in advance, so that is an asset, that is prepaid insurance. So, ang nakalagay sa book ay insurance expense, but I think the more appropriate entry is prepaid insurance. Next. Number 4, receive 132,000 from clients for medical services rendered. Nag-render na ba tayo kanina ng services? Hindi pa. Ngayon pa lang tayo nag-render na services. So, ngayon tayo may yung income natin. Anong sabi? Professional fees income daw ang account. So, meron tayong income. Okay? Because accrual basis of accounting, we recognize income when it is earned, when it is rendered. And then it says that we received 132,000 pesos. So may natanggap na tayong pera. Kaya anong entry dito? Cash and credit professional income. Okay, December 4. Credit cash, credit professional income. 101, 401. Then, magkano? 132,000 pesos. Record revenue from services. Receipt of cash. And revenue. Okay? So, nakatanggap na tayo ng cash. Sabi, received cash. So, 132,000 cash. And then, we also have, saan galing yung cash? Kasi nag-render tayo ng medical service. Kaya meron tayong professional income. Next. Number 6, additional medical supplies purchased on account. So, debit, medical supplies. Meron tayo ng billing, medical supplies. Ano ba yung medical supplies dito ulit? 103. Pero ano sabi? On account. Ibig sabihin, hindi pa natin babayaran. So, hindi credit cash. Anong meron ka sa credit side? Sipin mo, may debit side ka, medical supplies. Ano kayong credit nito? Accounts payable. Diba? Kasi meron tayong babayaran for our medical supplies. So, debit, medical supplies. Ito ay 103. And then, accounts payable credit. This is 201. Magkano? 42,000 pesos. Tama ba? $42,000 pesos. To record purchase of medical supplies on account. Okay? Next. December 10. Salaries of medical staff. December 10. Tapusin lang natin, no? 3:30 na, oh. Overdue tayo, sorry. Tapusin lang natin yung buong process. Tapos post natin sa General Ledger. Yung General Ledger, next meeting na lang, ipopost natin siya sa T account. Yun yung simple form ng General Ledger. Para mas mabilis natin magawa. And then, we'll prepare trial balance. Mabilis lang naman natin matatapos yun. So that you can prepare, you can answer your chapter 4. Alam ko naman na kayang-kaya nyo nang sagutin kahit di tayo mag-discuss. Para lang next meeting, sagot na lang tayo ng sagot. Okay? Magkano ulit to? Salaries medical staff? 90,000 pesos. Nagbayad ba siya? Hindi niya sinabi. So, let's assume, ano bang assume na sa book? Nagbayad daw siya. Nagbayad siya. Okay. So, hindi naman dahil hindi sinabi. Pero sa exam, i-contest nyo to hindi pwedeng ganito ka-silent. Kailangan nakasabi na paid salaries of medical staff. Hindi pwedeng salaries of medical staff ganun lang because it can be interpreted in two ways. It can be either paid or payable. Pero dito, let's assume na it is paid in cash as what is written in the book. Okay? December 10. Salaries of medical staff, 90,000 pesos. Pag may salaries, ano yan? Asset ba yan? Liabilities or expense? Di ba? Paid daw. Paid salaries. So, alam mo na, sure ka na, meron kang credit sa cash. Kasi kunwari, nilip ko ka sa debit. Di-credit ka muna sa cash. 90,000 pesos. Ano kaya ang debit mo? Ano bang mga usual na debit? Asset and expense. Asset. May asset ka ba? May salaries ka na babayaran? Asset ba yun? Hindi, di ba? Unless binayaran mo in advance, prepaid salaries. Hindi naman. Sakto lang daw. So, expense na lang natin dito. Salaries. Salaries, expense. Yun. So, salaries, expense. Pag may nakita kayo salaries, rent, utility, ang general po dyan, these are expenses. Para hindi kayo malito, familiar kayo, dapat yung mga ganito, pag nabasa nyo na, alam nyo na expenses yan. So, 501. Salaries. Again, 101. To record salaries paid to medical staff. Okay, next. Received 200,000 as payment for seminar fees. Nag-render daw tayo ng professional fee. Nag-seminar daw tayo. Naka-receive din tayo ng 200,000. So, ano ba ang ating entry? Siyempre, pag may nakita ka ng received, alam mo na yan. Cash yan. So, delete, cash. Madali lang pag cash lagi, pag received eh. 101, cash, how much? 200,000. Isama na din natin yung susunod. Sabi, rendered medical service to client on account, 180,000. Ito muna. Received 200,000 for seminar fees. So, kung nag-seminar tayo, ano daw ang account? May specific account kaya doon? Other income training. So, nag-render daw siya ng seminar, di ba? So, dito natin ipasok sa training. Other income training. Credit, other income, for all. Yung other income, ano yan? Income yan. Diba sabi? For seminar fees. Nakatanggap na tayo ng pera dahil nag-render tayo ng service through seminar. Kaya, income yan. Through record seminar fees. And then, next is rendered medical service to clients on account. Ano daw? Render daw tayo medical service, ibig sabihin na tayong professional revenue or professional income for services because again, you record income when it is earned. And once the medical services have been rendered, then you have already earned the income. So, credit income, alam mo na agad, may income ka. Pero nakatanggap ka ng cash o hindi? Hindi, kasi sabi on account. So, ano ba kayong debit ko? Alam mo na yung credit mo eh. Credit, ano ba yung credit natin? Professional fees, income. May income ka eh. Ano yung debit ko? Cash ba? Hindi. Kasi ano sabi? On account. Ba? Wow. E di wag cash. Ano gagawin mo? Debit what? Ano ang nire-record natin pagka may matatanggap tayo? Accounts receivable. Number 102. Debit. Anong date to? 17. Debit. O, ito muna. Sure ka, di ba? Professional income. That was 401. Credit yan. 180,000. And then, ang debit mo cash, hindi. Hindi, di ba? Matatanggap mo pa lang daw on account daw. Hindi pa sila magbabayad. So, meron ka lang collectibles. That is what you call accounts receivable. 180,000 pesos. Record medical service revenue on account. Okay, next. December 18. Payment of various minor repairs on building. Nagpagawa daw tayo ng building natin. Minor repairs lang. In the future, you'll realize pag major repair, iba ang treatment doon. Mag-i-increase ang property, plant, and equipment mo. Pero pag minor repair lang, expense mo lang yan. You have to expense it. Gastos mo yan. Kasi hindi naman nakadagdag ng useful ng building. Okay. So, ano meron ka dito? Nagpagawa ka, meron ka expense or repairs, expense. So, debit, repair expense. Meron kang debit dahil ang expense, normal balance ay debit. Ano mang credit mo? Sabi, payment. Diba? Payment. So, meron kang credit sa cash. So, again, what is your entry? Debit, repairs, maintenance, expense. And then, credit, cash. Kasi nagbayad ka. Then, debit to the expense because the normal balance of the expense is debit. And then credit because we paid for the maintenance or the repair in the amount of how much? 14,000 pesos. Then, ano ba yun? 503. 503, 101, 18,000 pesos. 14,000 pala. 14,000 pesos. The next, paid telephone bill. Paid telephone bill. So, may cash na naman tayo. Credit cash. Ulit kaya natin. Telephone bill o utility expense. Utility expense is debit. Because that is an expense. Meron ba tayong utility? Wala. Communication expense. Kasi telephone ito. So, 505. Okay? Meron tayo. December 20. Ang communication expense ay expense. So, debit, communication expense. Bayad daw tayo, so credit, cash. Ano daw yan? 505, 6,500. 6,500. Okay. Next. Ano na meron? Collected 130,000 from client's own account. Diba naalala nyo kanina? Meron tayo on December 17, rendered medical service to client's own account. Nag-render tayo ng medical service, hindi natin natanggap yung pera, accounts receivable. Pero noong 22, nagbayad daw sila. So we have collected. When you say collected, you have received cash. So debit cash. Debit cash, 230,000 pesos. And what will be your credit? Pag nakatanggap ka ng cash from your receivables, edi dapat bawas mo yung accounts receivable mo. Kasi pag natanggap mo na yung 130,000, bawas na din yung matatanggap mo in the future. Hindi naman pwede nakatanggap ka ng 130,000 sa mga collectibles mo, tapos hindi mo babawasan yung accounts receivable. Overstated ang accounts receivable mo nun. Ano entry mo? Debit. 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 Cash. Debit cash, 130,000. Debit cash, 130,000 pesos. Thank you. Credit accounts receivable. So again, cash because we have collected total of 130,000 pesos. And credit accounts receivable because we have to decrease or reduce our accounts receivable. Kasi hindi na natin matatanggap yung in the future. Natanggap mo na nga eh. Di bawasan natin. And that is the account number. The number 102. Ay, hindi na pala natin nalagyan ng description ng iba. To record repairs on the building. And then repairs on the building. Then the record telephone expenses. Then here to record cash receipt from accounts receivable customers. Record collections. On and then, haba naman ang problem na ito. December 22, then December 23, made partial payment of 30,000 on the medical supplies purchased on December 6. So again, made partial payment, alam mo na, credit mo, cash. Bakit? Hindi. Debit na lang ang question mo. So may credit ka na, cash kasi nagbayad ka. Credit cash. Ano kaya debit? Anong kailangan kong bawasan? Or ano kailangan kong i-record sa debit side? Meron ka bang asset? Wala. May natanggap ka bang pera, equipment, or asset? Wala naman, di ba? Ano pa kaya debit? Expense. May expense ba tayo? Wala din. Kasi hindi naman tayo wala naman tayo expense. Hindi naman tayo ngayon bumili. Ibig sabihin, liabilities and equity na lang ang natitira. So, pag nakabit sa equity, di ba credit ang normal balance nun? Bakit nasa debit? Ibig sabihin, may babawasan tayo. O, di ba kanina, ano ba to? Medical supplies purchased on account. Ibig sabihin, meron tayong accounts payable before na kailangan natin bawasan. Kaya debit to accounts payable because we have to decrease our accounts payable. So, ano yung entry? December 23, payment. Diba? Pag alam mo kung ano yung sigurado mo, yun ang unahin mo, credit cash. Magkano ba binayad natin? 30,000 pesos. Yan ano ba yung ano ba ang nangyari mo? December 6. On December 6, we have medical supplies, credit accounts payable. We have accounts payable. And since we're going to pay a portion of our accounts payable, we have to reduce it. And in reducing your accounts payable, we have to debit. So, accounts payable. Debit accounts payable. Yan. So, debit accounts payable, then credit cash. To record payment of medical supplies on account. Kunti na lang, kunti tiis na lang. Lapit na tayo matapos. And then, next, December 22nd. To record withdrawals. Pag-record ng withdrawals, so, di ba, record ng withdrawals, ibig sabihin, kukuha na naman ng pera. O di, credit cash. Pero pag withdrawals, ano ba usually pag withdrawals? 1, 2, 1. Withdrawal from the capital. Kaya ano ba yung debit? Drawings or capital. Doctor Season Personal. 302. So, debit, Doctor Season, capital. Pagkano daw yun? 100,000 pesos. Okay, to record withdrawals. Okay. Then, lapit na tayo matapos. Next, paid membership dues of 2,000 pesos and subscriptions of 2,800. So, meron daw tayo membership dues. Ano kaya itong mga to? These are expenses. You are going to pay for your membership expense. So, meron ba tayong membership expenses dito? Ayun. Dues and subscriptions. So, magkano lahat? 2,000 and 2,800. So, total of 4,800. And we paid ba? Kaya hindi payable. Credit, cash. So, debit expense, dues and subscriptions, and then credit, cash. Dues and subscriptions, 511, 4,000. So, 2,000 plus 2,800. Then credit, bayad daw tayo, cash. 101. Record. Membership, dues, and subscriptions. Okay. Then, lastly, billed customers for services rendered on December 29, 280,000. Magre-record ba tayo ngayon ng revenue? Yes or no? Yes. Because medical services have already been rendered. So again, this is accrual basis of accounting. You record revenues when they are rendered, not when the payment for which is received. So when you say billed, pag may nakita kayong billed, alam nyo na agad yan, accounts receivable. Pag kayo ang nag-bill, meron kayong accounts receivable. Pero pag nakatanggap kayo ng bill, pag sinabi received bill, meron kayong accounts payable. Unless pag sinabi na collected agad o di kaya paid agad. Ibang usapan na yun, cash na yun at saka payment of cash, debit cash or credit cash. Pero pag billed customers, hindi mo pa natanggap yung pera. Anong meron ka? Accounts receivable. Pero, anong credit mo? So, debit accounts receivable. Ito ay 280,000 pesos. Credit. Ano meron? Cash ba? Hindi. Ano nga meron tayo? Medical service rendered. So, we have professional income. This is 280,000 pesos. Okay. So, now we have finished our journal entries already. Now, we are going to prepare the general ledger. Pero, gawin na lang natin is, diba? Ito talaga yung pinaka-formal na itsura ng general ledger. Diba? Kailangan dito, isang ledger for each account. So, cash, account number 1. And then, 101. And then, you have the date, and then, the reference, and then the amounts. Yan, amounts. Ganyan. Tapos sa dulo, lalagyan mo na balance. Pero sa atin ngayon, para madali, at saka mas magamit nyo in the future, gumawa tayong T-account. Okay? Yung T-account kamukha ng ledger. Simple form lang ni ledger si T-account. Gagawa natin ng T-account lahat ng ito. Okay? Ayan. Ano ba yung itsura ng T-account? Simple lang naman yung itsura ng T-account. Bilis lang to, guys. Sobrang konti na lang. Then, bilis lang natin gagawin yung trial balance. Nating tiis lang para pag nag-answer na kayo, dire-diretso. Okay. So, ganito lang siya. Itsura niya. We have here. Ayan. So, parang ganun lang itsura niya. T siya. Kaya T account kasi T yung itsura niya. So, dito yung debit side, dito naman yung credit. Saan mo namang alam nyo na ito? Just to have a recap. Okay? Gawin natin bawat transaction. So, dito lahat ng asset. And dito naman liabilities. Assets. Liabilities. Ano ba yung nasa liability? Cash. Accounts payable. And then, nalagay tayo ng capital capital account. Dr. Season capital. And then, gawa din tayo ng income. Ito na lang kaya yung income. Para mas makita na. Professional. Income. So, ano natin complete ulit. Unahin natin yung i-post na natin balikan natin yung mga entries. So, December 1, ano yung first na transaction? We have a debit in cash and credit. Normal balance of cash is debit. Normal balance of capital is credit. Kaya nung mag-increase ang cash, debit. Nag-increase ang capital, credit. Okay. So, post natin, 1 million pesos. December 1. Lagay lang natin dito yung date. December 1. Date. Debit, magkano? 1 million pesos. And then, Dr. Season Capital, we have here, right? Credit, 1 million pesos. Ayan. Okay. Lagyan natin ito ng summation. Next, meron na tayong land and building. Okay? Land and building. Then, we have cash and notes payable. So, land and building are assets, fixed assets. We will provide here. Lagyan na lang natin sila. Land and building. Land and then building. Kailan yun? December 1 din. And debit land. So, debit na. And then, building. Magkano building? 2.5 million. December 1 din. And then, credit. Saan yung credit niya? Cash and notes payable. So, meron tayong credit cash. Then, notes payable. Notes payable. Have one. Notes payable. Yun. Credit kasi ang normal balance ng mga liability ay credit. Next, medical equipment. Nag-purchase na tayo ng medical equipment, 300,000 pesos. And credit, notes payable. So, lagay natin medical equipment. Medical equipment. Okay. Capitals. Medical equipment. Notes payable. 300,000 pesos. And then, notes payable, December 1, credit ulit, kasi on account, 300,000 pesos. And the next, medical supplies. Ito, baba na nga lang natin ito. Mga professional income. Okay, next, medical supplies. 3,000 pesos. So, let's copy again. Kunti na lang. ₱50,000 pesos. Huh? And then, what's our credit? We credited cash. So, credit cash. December 1 pa rin. Credit cash, 50,000 pesos. And then, what's the next transaction? We purchased medical equipment amounting to 52,000 pesos. Pero on account naman. So, medical equipment, December 2. 52,000 pesos. Pero on account. So, on December 2, just 12 credit tayo. Accounts payable, 52,000 pesos. Next, office supplies daw, bumili tayo on and we paid in cash. So, debit office supplies. Sabihin lang natin, office supplies. That is December 2. Okay, office supplies, December 2, 3,000 pesos. And then we paid using cash. December 3. This is how much? 38,000 pesos. Then cash, December 3, 28,000 pesos. Credit. Okay? Next, we have professional income. So debit cash, December 4, 132, credit professional income. December 4, $132,000, and then professional income. Punta tayo sa baba. Ayan, December 4, credit, 132,000 pesos. Next, medical supplies. Debit, medical supplies, credit, accounts payable. December 6. Magkano yung medical supplies? 42,000. And then accounts payable, how much? 42,000 pesos. Okay, next. Salaries expense. Debit salaries expense, credit cash. Salaries expense. Wala pa tayong expense accounts. Okay, na lang natin. Dito na lang tayo. Salaries expense. We have December debit, 90,000, and then magka-credit lang ng cash, December 10, we have 90,000. Okay, next, cash, and then we have trading, other income trading. So debit cash, this is December 15, ₱200,000, and then trading, other income trading, December 15, ₱200,000. Next, hindi na lang. Accounts receivable, 180,000. Debit accounts receivable, 180,000. Credit professional income. Debit accounts receivable. Yun, wala pala dito. Hindi natin siya dito. December 17, 180,000 pesos. And then, professional income credit. December 17, 180,000 pesos. Next, repairs expense. 14,000 pesos. Debit, credit, cash. So, repairs expense. Repairs expense. Gawa na rin tayo ng drawings. First. Ulit yun. Repairs expense. Expense. This is December 18. Okay, 14,000 and then credit. $12.80. $12.80 credit. Repairs expense. 14,000 pesos. Next, communication expense. Debit. 6,500. Diba ulit tayong account. Communications expense. Debit, 6,500. And then, nagbayad daw tayo. Communications expense, 6,500. Next transaction. Nakatanggap na tayo ng cash collection from our accounts receivable. December 22, debit cash, credit accounts receivable. Ayan. And then, next, nagbayad daw tayo ng accounts payable natin. Debit accounts payable, 12.23. Debit, 30,000. And then, dahil nagbayad tayo, credit, 30,000. ₱30,000. Kunti na lang. So, credit, 30,000 pesos. And then, December 27, this should be personal. Drawings to, di ba? So, debit, Dr. Season personal, credit cash. Debit, saan yung personal natin? Credit, cash. Is 12/27. 12/27. Credit, cash. Okay, and then last transaction. Last two pala. So we have dues and subscriptions. This is expense. So hanapin natin. Meron na ba tayo expense? Wala pa. We have 29. Expense 4,800. Then credit cash. Credit cash. Ayan. Then, lastly, we have accounts receivable, debit, and then credit professional income. So, debit, accounts receivable, credit professional income. Ayan. Okay. So, now we're ready to prepare our trial balance. Kunin mo natin yung balances at the end. So, sa cash, magkano yung balance natin dito? We have debit side, 1,462. We have credit side, 8,263. So, magkano ba ito? Meron tayong total debit na 635,700. About accounts receivable. Accounts receivable natin, debit side 460 less 130,000, 330,000. And then land, 1 million. Saka na natin complete yung depreciation sa next na topic. Okay, ganito muna. So, huwag muna tayo mag-depreciate. Ending balances lang muna. And then, medical equipment. We have total. And then, 352. Medical supplies, 92,000 kasi wala namang credit. Office supplies, ganun din, 3,000. Prepaid insurance, ganun din. Wala namang credit. Saka again, naisip ko na naiisip nyo bakit hindi tayo nag-a-adjust. Sa next chapter na lang yun. Basic lang muna tayo ngayon. About accounts payable. Accounts payable. And then, ending balance is dapat sa credit side kasi normal balance credit. So, 94 less 30, 64,000. The same with here. Dapat mas malaki si credit side. Okay. About capital. Capital, normal balance is credit side. Diba? Same with, ito naman, pag personal or drawings, normal balance is debit side. Pero, bakit ganito? Sobra. And then, about professional income, normal balance, credit side. Diba? And same with training, kasi ito ay income. Pag expenses, normal balance ay debit side. Check lang natin. Okay. So now we have ending balances sa ating accounts. Okay? So, meron na tayong ending balances sa cash, accounts receivable, land, building, medical equipment, and etc. Now, let's just prepare quickly our trial balance. Journal entry. This is the account. Then, trial balance. So, bilis na lang talaga ito. Trial balance, iba ano bang kailangan natin? Kailangan lang natin na balances. But we first have to prepare our heading. Sabihin natin, Dr. Season. Ano po yung business ni Dr. Season? Medical services. Dr. Season, medical services. And then, after this, sabihin natin December 31, 2020. So here are the accounts, and then we have here debit, and then credit. Okay? Tapos dito yung account. So, anong meron tayo? We have, unahin natin yung cash. Diba? May cash tayo. Ano pa? Meron pa tayo accounts receivable. Accounts receivable. We also have land. Unahin natin yung mga land and building kasi, mahirap yan i-liquidate. Ibig sabihin, long-term assets sila. So, ihuli natin sila. Yung unahin natin yung nakukonsume, yung madaling i-convert into cash. Ano pa ba? Maliban sa accounts receivable, we have office supplies. Bakit tayo nila? Then, we also have medical supplies. And then, yun, yung mga equipment na. And then, meron pa tayong prepaid expense. Prepaid insurance expense. We have medical equipment. We have land. We have building. Next, we have accounts payable, di ba? Balikan natin. Ano tayo accounts payable? Meron din tayong notes payable. Ayun. And then, capital. Doctor season. We also have doctor season. Personal. And then, we have, ano pa? Meron tayong professional income. Meron tayong other income. Training. Then we have salaries expense. We have may mga expenses natin. Rent, repairs expense, commission, and dues and subscriptions. Repairs expense. Communications expense. Dues and subscription. Repairs or maintenance expense. And then we have our total. So, total natin yung debit side mamaya and yung credit side. Okay, now we're ready to plot our balances. Magkano yung cash ulit natin? Meron daw tayong debit kanina, di ba? Cash. 635,700. Laki natin kasi medyo maliit. Then, accounts receivable, ending balance, 330,000. Then, office supplies, 3,000. And then, medical supplies, debit sila lahat, no? Napansin niyo ba? Kasi normal balance natin ay debit. Then, prepaid insurance, then natin expense, para hindi niya malito. Prepaid insurance. Then, medical equipment, 352,000. And then, land, 1 million. And then, building, 2,500,000. Okay. Next, accounts payable naman, credit na yan. Diba? Then, liability. Magkano yung accounts payable? 64,000. Then, notes payable, 3 million. And then, the first season capital, 1 million. About non-debit, kasi yan ay contra equity account, 1 million. About professional income, credit, professional income, 592,000. Then, other income, magkano? 100,000. Then, salaries expense, 90,000. Repairs and communication, repairs and maintenance, 14,000. Communication, sorry. Salaries expense should be on the debit side because this is expense, diba? Debit, repairs, 14. Communications, 6,500. Dues and subscription, 4,800. Yan. So, nakita nyo, nag-balance yung debit side natin and yung credit side. So, generally, tama ito. Dahil, kompleto naman recording natin, diba? Hindi din naman tayo nakapagkaroon ng transposition, transplacement error, or non-recording or double recording. This now is the end of our chapter 4. I hope that you have learned something kahit medyo nakakapagod, diba? Hindi ko nga alam kung nandyan pa kayo. Kung may mga ibang nakikinig pa kayo. I hope nakinig kayo kasi ang next na nang gagawin ninyo dito is you have to answer all the problems in your book. Because basically, the problems in the book is only about journalizing, preparing the accounts, or the simple form of general ledger, and then you will prepare trial balance. Okay. So, this ends our lecture. We have finished chapter 4. All you have to do is prepare your assignment. Meet it on, let's say, Tuesday morning. Tuesday evening na lang. 11:59. Then we will have synchronous on Monday. Or gawin na lang natin ulit Wednesday and Saturday. Saturday, promise, hindi na siya. Ano yun? Ma'am, hindi na po kasama discussions, questions sa sasagutan. Ano yun? Hindi na. Wag na din yung multiple choice, wag na yon. Ano lang tayo, problems. Problems lang kayo mag-start. Dito kayo mag-start sa bibigay ko na sagot sa mga multiple choice and theories. Para hindi naman kayo napapagod. Wala na yung discussion question. Alam nyo na yan. Parang review na lang yan para sa inyo. Itong exercises, ibigay ko na lang sagot dyan. Ang sasagutan nyo lang ay exercises. Problems, ito. Okay? Problems. Pwede din na E5. Pero, alam nyo na ito eh. Didiscuss na lang natin ito, E4, E5. Start kayo sa P4- Hello, dear sessions. Hello? May tanong ba kayo? Pasensya na kayo sobrang nakakapagod itong session natin. Excel pa papasa, ma'am? Sige, Excel. Kung ano yung mas madali kayong gawin, Excel, Word, o papel, picture ng papel, bahala na kayo. Basta kung ano yung komportable kayo. Okay? So let's just check the attendance bago kayo matapos para fair naman dun sa mga taong nagstay talaga until the end. Mabilis na attendance para sure na andyan kayo. Okay, stop ko na yung recording. Baka kasi maputol na may sayang pa eh. Thank you!